Welcome to the 700 Club. Thanks for joining us. Well, we've got a great story for you to start the day. A major win for religious freedom at the Supreme Court. The justices, and this is a unanimous verdict, they ruled in favor of a Catholic foster care agency that wouldn't work with same-sex couples because of religious belief.
Well, the court said the city of Philadelphia was violating the agency's First Amendment rights. Jennifer Wishon reports.
In this case, the city of Philadelphia was preventing a Catholic foster care agency from placing children in families because it doesn't consider same-sex couples. The Supreme Court ruled that's unconstitutional. But many conservatives wish justices had gone further.
I was praying, God, please give a win for the children. This is a win for the children.
It was a unanimous decision, with Chief Justice John Roberts writing the opinion in favor of Catholic social services. The refusal of Philadelphia to contract with CSS for the provision of foster care services unless it agrees to certify same-sex couples as foster parents cannot survive strict scrutiny and violates the First Amendment.
This is a really landmark case for religious liberty. It's about the power of the government, whether the government can force you to change what you believe when you're trying to be a part of the solution, when you're trying to identify a social ill and really be there to make a difference.
Still, it was a narrow decision that stuck to the facts of this particular case and sidestepped the larger question of how to balance religious freedom and anti-discrimination laws in general.
Long term, this battle continues. The LGBT side is anxious to stop people from disagreeing with their worldview about what's moral and what isn't.
The City of Brotherly Love was established by William Penn as a haven for oppressed Christians seeking religious freedom. But critics say in this case, the city targeted a Catholic organization.
It was clear from the factual record that the city had it out for Catholic social services because of their views on same-sex marriage. In fact, multiple justices themselves during oral argument referenced the fact that they were essentially itching for a fight.
And while some argue this hurts gay couples,
I feel sad about it because it still creates a situation where sort of that feels archaic in 2021, where qualified LGBTQ couples can't contract with a government-funded foster care agency.
Chief Justice Roberts points out no same-sex couple has ever sought certification from Catholic Social Services, and if it did, would be directed to 20 other agencies in the city that would help them.
This could have been a broader ruling than what we got, but at the same time, we should be celebrating the ruling that we did get.
And celebrate they are. Although, again, as many have pointed out, this decision applies only to the city of Philadelphia. The bigger issue of religious freedom and anti-discrimination laws has yet to be dealt with. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Well, I do believe this is a stunning victory for religious freedom, and I'm just encouraged that it's a unanimous vote by the Supreme Court. So there's no room for doubt. There's no dissent. Religious institutions have a right under the First Amendment to hold their beliefs. That is a wonderful victory. Now, does it apply to everything that we're dealing with and all the various cases? The famous baker from Colorado is up again in yet another lawsuit, and a federal judge has now ruled that he has to make a cake for a transgender celebration. So, you know, we're going to see continual court battles, but at the same time, if you are a religious organization, if you are a church, this is a stunning victory. Well, in other news, the Supreme Court also issued another major ruling Tuesday. It turned back yet another challenge to Obamacare. George Thomas has that story from the CBN newsroom. George?
Thank you, Gordon. Hello, everyone. As Gordon mentioned, the High Court ruled 7-2 that the states that brought the case, led by Republicans, did not have standing to challenge the health care law. It was the third time the court ruled in favor of the law, and it could be the last time it faces a major challenge.
Let me say definitively, the Affordable Care Act has won. It's eventually going to be pretty hard to unravel from the system.
Now, the focus in our nation's capital is shifting to another Democratic bill that includes some healthcare components, a new infrastructure plan that would cost $6 trillion. Senate Democrats are also taking up another major priority, an attempt to rewrite our nation's election laws. Democrats argue the measure is about expanding voter rights. Republicans warn it would be a federal takeover of elections away from the states, aimed at keeping the Democrats in power. The measure appeared dead, but now West Virginia Democrat Senator Joe Manchin is offering a compromise. Abigail Robertson brings us that story from Washington.
Just a few weeks ago, it was highly unlikely the For the People Act was going anywhere in the Senate. But now Senator Manchin says he's open to voting for it if a few of his demands are met. But he wants GOP support too.
We have to get it done. It's very important. It will be voted on.
With the filibuster intact, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer needs 50 Democrat and 10 Republican votes to send it to President Biden's desk.
And we're working as we speak with others, including Senator Manchin, to see if we can get a big, strong bill passed.
Republicans strongly opposed the House-passed bill.
Well, the mother of all power grabs is going to fail. This has got nothing to do with improving voting. It has everything to do with locking in perpetual power by the left.
The current bill expands mail-in voting, allows same-day voter registration, outlaws voter ID requirements, creates a nonpartisan process for drawing congressional districts, and establishes a federal campaign finance fund.
Chuck Schumer, he should like this a lot. He has a chance of getting $44 million in your tax money for his campaign. That's wrong. We should never be taking taxpayer dollars and giving to politicians to go run attack ads and win an election.
In a memo circulated from Manchin's office, he said he's open to getting on board if the bill allows limits to mail-in voting, uses computer models to draw congressional districts, requires voter IDs but allows alternatives like utility bills, and leaves out the public financing system for campaigns.
Equally unacceptable, totally inappropriate. All Republicans, I think, will oppose that as well.
Manchin believes federal voting reform must be the result of both Democrats and Republicans coming together. But even with his changes, Republicans aren't on board.
When Stacey Abrams immediately endorsed Senator Manchin's proposal, it became the Stacey Abrams substitute, not the Joe Manchin substitute.
Manchin's also not confident his Democratic colleagues will support his changes, including President Biden. The full Senate plans to vote on the bill next week. Reporting from Virginia, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Thanks, Abigail. We head overseas to the Middle East, where Israel is cautiously reopening to tourists after more than a year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As my colleague Chris Mitchell shows us, the first group received a very special welcome.
Pastor Tom Zelt has led dozens of study tours to Israel. But this time his group held a special honor, the first group of tourists to return after the COVID-19 closures.
We were honored in such a way that I didn't even expect to be greeted with flowers, escorted through the airport.
We were welcomed really, really well by the Israeli government. Everyone's been incredibly friendly. It feels almost like they've given us celebrity status. It's humbling to be here and realize what a difference we're making. I know that our trip alone is not going to make that big of a difference, but it's a sign of the things to come.
A pilot program allowed 20 groups of up to 20 vaccinated tourists each into Israel. That's already been expanded to bring another 1,000 visitors in groups by the end of this month, and then individual vaccinated tours in July.
We at Israel Experts, we really feel proud and privileged to bring to the Holy Land the first tourist group after the very long coronavirus pandemic.
Most of the people are vaccinated in Israel. We are back to normal.
Members of the group had to undergo COVID testing at the airport, and all visitors must be vaccinated.
I hope that soon we can work on a different system where people can come also that are not vaccinated.
CBN News met up with Zelt and his students from the Concordia Seminary in St. Louis, in Jerusalem's Old City, towards the end of their trip.
We are thrilled to be back in. It's exciting to be the first group in. Everybody has been wonderful and hospitable to us, and it's just great to get back to the place where God did these incredible things for us.
Due to the recent 11-day war with Hamas, Zelt's group didn't know until the last minute if they'd be able to come, and some canceled, but 12 came.
The conflict before we arrived really put us in an emotional roller coaster for a good week. So finally being here, it's a huge relief that it is open and free.
We had some hesitation because of everything that was going on here, fear of safety, and I know my family was concerned.
Hassan Mata from the tourism ministry told CBN News in the year before the COVID-19 outbreak, Israel had some 4.5 million tourists.
We are excited. We wish to see more people. We are working on that, getting more people here, and let's hope that people can come from the U.S. and from other countries also.
Despite the ups and downs, the trip is really about one thing.
I love this place because it's authentic. The places that have impacted my faith and for my children, it makes me emotional, is that Jesus really lived here.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thank you, Chris. Gordon, remarkable that we are here today more than a year and a half after the start of this virus.
It is remarkable, and it's remarkable that Israel is leading the world, both in terms of vaccinations and now being one of the first countries to open up for tourism. That's incredible. It's actually making me jealous, and I'd like to go. If you've ever been in Israel during the height of the season, where you get the full impact of 4.5 million people visiting, and the buses are lined up blocking the road to the Mount of Olives. It would be absolutely wonderful to go right now because there aren't any crowds. That would be a really, really great thing to do. But as it reopens, realize that going to Israel is a great privilege, and it will absolutely reinforce your faith, where you're able to walk where Jesus walked, where the prophets walked, where the kings of Israel walked, where the disciples walked, and see it and handle it and realize this isn't mythology. These are real stories from history.